it'll be later.
Hi there, everybody, and we are back. I'm still with Heather on our Sustainable Style series in Burkina Faso, and today we're going to talk about the creation of organic fabrics and the dyeing process. Obviously, the dyeing process, if it's not done properly, can be really damaging to our environment. And this is something that Heather's really passionate about. How can we be, kind to our environment? I think she's just as passionate as that as I am with regard to waste and fair trade. So Heather, you're actually with your dyers at the moment. So just take us through the process of how you get the cotton to produce, in the yarn format, and then how you move that from the yarn format to the coloured yarns that we go. Over to you.
Okay, well, I'm actually right in front of these cotton yarns that are organic and have actually been pre-washed, so they're ready to be dyed. The yarn,
Quick question. What makes it organic?
So it's organic because there's no poisonous chemicals used basically for the growing. So there's no pesticides and there's no chemical fertilizers used, because cotton is actually very demanding normally in pesticide, especially in pesticides. It uses between 16 and 25%, depending on different people's estimations, of the world's production of pesticides for cotton. And some of those products have been banned in the EU, for instance. And they're very toxic for the people working in the fields, especially here because people can't, it's very hot conditions, and they also don't have the money to pay for protective gear while they're spraying the crops. And so, they have all sorts of, if you go, every time I have gone out to talk with farmers, had so many stories of how, how difficult it is for them, how they get headaches, how they won't let their wives work in the fields because there's been all sorts of evidence of deformity for children being born. I mean, all sorts of things. It's not like it's been studied in a very analytical way because, of course, there's no money for that kind of studying. But just from their own observations, they have said, no, we can't let our women in the fields.
So we really need to be mindful about, the cotton shirt that we have, the white cotton shirt, in the UK, in the Western world, we're all about the white cotton shirt. It's really important that you try to make sure that you make conscious decisions. You guys know what these damages can do now. You're being a little bit more informed about that. So, try to make sure that white cotton shirt is organic. Don't check out all you,
for me, that is the base, the most important thing. And the more we can switch it to organic farming, which at the moment there's hardly here in Burkina, cotton is their biggest export. Is 20% of the population that works in cotton, and less than 1% is organic. And that's not a choice that the farmers have made. It's what they've been forced to do because the cotton will not be accepted to be ginned. It has to be ginned to take the seed out of it, and that's an industrial process. So in other words, the cotton is very controlled in a centralized way, and those gins actually are the ones who sell the packages of seeds with the pesticides that go along with that. So the farmers are expected to buy the package. And then there's just a small amount of farmers that have been sort of handpicked and chosen to be in the organic program. So it's a very so I hope that we can, by putting market pressure, say we all want this organic cotton and we don't want to have our clothes be something that hurt people. I'm hoping that we can change the system by market potential.
Absolutely. Now, me as a sustainable stylist, with regard to my brand styling and my personal styling, I don't advocate people chucking out their whole wardrobe because it's not organic.
No,
Because that
of
in
course.
itself is a waste, you know, because all those clothes are
Of
going to go into
course,
the
of
landfill.
course.
But it's about, as you move forward, making
Move
more
forward.
informed choices.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. So,
Let's get into it now.
yeah, we'll get into the process here. So, well, let's go over and see what's going on. So, the first thing that needs to happen when we start working with the yarn is we need to wash it. Because there's natural oils in the yarn that make it difficult to dye.
Right.
You know,
Okay.
makes a barrier against the dye.
Okay. So
So
what is
we have
showing us there?
we have to boil this yarn, and the way we do that for the moment, you know, one of these days, as soon as possible, I hope we'll have a solar water heater.
Right.
But at the moment, what we use is we get here. I'll show you. We have this.
If you can move the camera down a
This is
little
our
bit.
son, the son of one of our dyers. This is you know, sawdust from the local
Okay.
sawmills.
If you can
And
move the camera down, we can't see what you're trying to show
I'm
us.
so sorry. Yeah. So this is the sawdust that we get from the local sawmills.
Right.
You know, it's a waste product.
Uh-huh.
And we use that for our boiling, for making the fire, because you know we don't want to be using too much wood, but
Right.
eventually we'll have solar water heating, so we won't use any wood, which will be great.
Okay, so basically you cut out, Heather, hold on, you just cut out a little bit there. So just so they know, you are basically saying that you use the sawdust, the reclaimed sawdust, as the ignitant for fire.
Yeah.
Fantastic, thank you. Just wanted to make sure that everybody got that part.
Okay, yeah. So we boil it for 2 hours, and now they're you know, rinsing them out, and we'll be putting the skeins up to dry.
Okay, move the camera down, Heather.
Oh, sorry. There you go.
So when the cotton is ginned and produced, how do you get it in those long strips? Does it automatically move into those long strips?
Okay, so that is the way we get the yarn from the mill that makes the yarn. You can get it in bobbins, but for us it's practical to have these skeins, because that's the way the dye will take better.
Right.
You know, we would have to have very sophisticated equipment if it was going to stay on bobbins.
Right.
We'd have to like jet machines.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all the yarn that they produced, they wound into these what we call skeins that makes it easy for the artisanal dyers to use. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
So, yeah, sure. And then from there we have the dyeing over here. Hold on. So today it's not a very interesting color. It's just black.
Okay, no problem.
Il y a quelqu'un qui pourrait manipuler.
Camera down, Heather.
Yes. So here's our very, you know, artisanal way of dyeing here.
Okay.
Small batches. And this is what we call a fiber reactive dye. So it's very non-toxic, but it's not a natural dye. And I have chosen to use a chemical dye so that we really have all the choices of colors possible, and so that we have a very good wash fastness, you know, that it's not going to wash out. Because the traditional natural dyeing in the area tends to have a lot of problems with color fastness.
Right.
And for me, what's really important is that we really sort of make it easy to use organic cotton. I would love to look into other ways of dyeing and create special lines that are natural dyes, etc. But I also want it that everybody can easily use organic cotton in a simple way and be able to use all the colors that they imagine. I think we can't lose our aesthetic to
absolutely. So, with regard to chemical dyes, is this harmful in any way to the environment or anything like that?
It's very non-toxic, but we also want to put in place a water recycling unit so that we are sure that nothing gets out to the. At the moment, the thing is, it's a pretty small production, and the dyeing actually takes a lot less time than the weaving. So the dyers are working maybe a couple weeks at a time, and then they're having pauses of a month or 2 months. So at the moment, it's a pretty small production. But once we get scaled up to a larger production, we definitely want to have a water recycling unit and make sure that there's nothing that gets out. Now, we also have found this new technique. That's one of our, future improvements that should be coming soon. I found a product to pre-treat the cotton. You soak it in this product for 24 hours, and it's totally non-toxic. And what it does, so what the difficulty in dyeing is that the cotton on the chemical level is that the cotton is has a negative charge, and the dye has a negative charge. So they actually don't want to come together. And then we use a lot of salt, and the salt modifies the charge of the cotton and makes it more positive. Now, this product that I have discovered, and it's something that's not being used at all, on a big scale yet. It's been tested in labs, and we tested it here to see how it works, and it works amazingly. It actually modifies the charge of the cotton so it's positive. And so the dye just wants to jump onto the cotton. And what's amazing about that is that it leaves hardly anything in the water afterwards. All of the dye it goes right to the cotton. I mean, the water is practically clear, and that's good for several things, because also afterwards, usually with this black color that I just showed you, there's a lot of rinsing that we have to do, lots and lots of washing afterwards. With this new technique, it's rinsed once and it's ready to go, and we don't even use salt and we don't use fixative, so it's a lot less chemically
really great, because obviously then all of that water, that dyed water, which traditionally with fast fashion is just going into our water reserves, etc., etc. I don't know if you've heard this. I don't know if you've heard the saying that you can tell what next season's fashion colors are going to be in certain areas of the world because of the water reserves,
rivers.
Exactly. So it's really great that you're thinking about that, and and I really wish you well with regard to getting your system in place. That's really great.
I'm very excited about this product. It's going to be really exciting.
So I can see that they're hanging all the yarn out to dry, working really, really hard there. Is there anything else that you needed to show us with regard to the dyeing?
Well, no, I don't think so. It's a 2-hour process where we first soak the dye with the salt, and then in the second hour we put the fixative into those. So it's quite a long process, and then afterwards they'll take it out and rinse it, and that can be a very long process to get all the excess dye out.
Absolutely. And how in terms of the salt, is that purchased or is that natural salt as well?
Yeah, it's just regular table salt. Here it is, I think. Yeah, there it is. Do you see it?
No, it's hard. You're not low enough. You don't put the camera low enough.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, we just get it in a big quantities because we do use a lot of salt. Especially for the darker colors. The darker colors take more salt. So yeah, that's that's sort of the main thing that's still in the water.
No problem. Yeah. So what is the one more question? The little, when we saw the ladies, you know, using the spindle things to dye.
Yes. Yeah.
How much cotton will we get out of the amount that she was creating there? You know.
So we have a capacity. We have a capacity of 150 skeins a day, which is about 11 kilos.
Right.
And in terms of how much fabric 11 kilos make, that's about 40 yards of fabric.
Okay.
So per day we can dye enough for 40 yards of fabric.
Here. Okay.
But we are going to ramp up because we're going to get a station that's much more easy to use, has like a what do you call that? A thing that turns the skeins. And yeah, all of that's sort of in the middle of changing.
Absolutely. Okie dokie. Well, I look forward to visiting our weavers next, because I understand that now that the products have been stained, once they've been rinsed out and dried, they then get transferred over to your, you know, weaving factory that you work with, where it's all weaved and turned into the fabrics that we saw earlier.
That's right. That's right.
So that's great. Yep. So in the next video, everybody, that is what we're going to be doing. We're going to be back in Burkina Faso with Heather, but over in her dyeing factory, where you can see how these natural, raw, organic fabrics are made. So until then, we'll see you in the next video. Take care and stay true to you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Hey.